everybody, Hughes here, and I am in Minnesota, and one of the biggest issues facing the election today is not about who you vote for, but actually who's voting. And Erin Haust here in Minnesota exposed the great fraud that is going on in our voter booths here in Minnesota. Tell me a little bit about the process and what you actually went through to find out that we don't have real people voting who live in Minnesota for Minnesota candidates.
You know what? Voter fraud is absolutely not just possible, but easy, especially in a state like Minnesota where we have this vouching system. The vouching system basically works like this. I could take you into the voting booth with me or into the polls and say, I promise she's my neighbor. You fill out the little card, you go ahead and get your ballot, and sure enough, you vote. And the process for verifying you are who you are and you live where you live doesn't happen until after the election is certified, and so that's a real problem. My story in particular is pretty telling. I lived in Florida years ago and obviously registered to vote down there and moved away with my family and things. But now this year, for whatever reason, I was sent not only a voter registration card, but an actual ballot. And so that's very troubling to me. I could obviously vote down in Florida, and I could also vote here in Minnesota where I'm registered legally. I've tried over the course of about 10 to 15 years, more than once, to get off the rolls in Florida, and it's not happening.
Wow, now this is the woman behind the story, just to bring you up to date. The James O'Keefe exposure that just happened about voter fraud in Minnesota last spring. The story down in Texas. This is the woman behind it. Now, going forward, we're obviously in election time right now. Yes. Early voting is just now ending in a lot of states.
Yes.
Did we fix the problem yet?
No, absolutely not. And here in Minnesota, we do have an initiative for voter ID that will certainly be helpful to bring photo identification to the polls. It doesn't, however, fix this weird vouching system that we have, and it doesn't fix the fact that there's no cross-checks. I should, if I had an ID, maybe we could cross-check from county to county within the state of Minnesota, but it still doesn't check anything against my Florida registration. And so it's very troubling. I think our voting system is definitely not the integrity-ridden system that we thought, or that we've been taught all through the years, and now we're finding that voter fraud exists. It's actually very, very easy to commit.
So let's put this in perspective. I today, a resident of Tennessee, you registered in Florida,
yes,
could right now today go to Minnesota, to any poll in Minnesota, and vote with just someone here in vouching for us, and it's an unlimited number of people.
Right. You as long as that other person is on the rolls,
wow, they
could literally come in and just say, "Yep, I promise it's you," and I never promise that you live in Minnesota. So very troubling. It's a system where they say all the time that voter fraud doesn't exist. I would question anybody to look at either Conservative Daily News, where I write, or any of these the James O'Keefe videos and Project Veritas, and really just do a little search. Find John Fund has a great video out recently where he was speaking and goes through many arrests. I mean, we have a woman who was arrested who was running for office, who was found to have voted in 2 places, and so she had to cancel her campaign. We've got folks in Massachusetts, folks in Minnesota, we have people in Ohio. There are people all over the country that are being caught. You just don't hear about them nearly enough.
So do you think there's going to be voter fraud in Minnesota this election?
Yes, without a doubt.
Well, these things need to change, and it's by people like you. Where do people find more of your work at?
Erin Haust at conservativedailynews.com is the best place to find me, or on Twitter. You'll always know what I'm doing if you follow Erin Haust on Twitter.
Fantastic. Folks, these are things that we need to change here in America. We might not be able to change it this election, but get active, get informed, and let's change it for the next go-round.